Hello everyone and welcome to the Game Shed with me, Mark, and welcome to another PlayStation Classic tutorial. It's amazing news, the time has come finally for Bleemsync 1.1, and with this release comes something we've all been crying out for a very long time: OTG support. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with what OTG is, in a nutshell, it lets you use pretty much any USB stick on your PlayStation Classic. It is an adapter that uses the power at the back of the PlayStation rather than the front USB port in order to use USBs and use them to soft mod your PlayStation Classic. It's much better because then it frees up both of the front USB ports for both controllers, and at the same time you can use a much wider variety of USB sticks, including USB 3.0, which draw a lot more power. This is fantastic news. This is what we've been crying out for a very long time, and I'm pleased to say it works perfectly. I've been testing it in various different ways and it's brilliant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 3 videos. This is the first one, and as you would have seen from the title, it is upgrading from 0.x releases. So any 0.x release, so 0.4, 0.41, 0.7, any of those, you can upgrade from that to 1.1 in a very easy manner. Now, for those of you who are still on 0.4, I presume it's because you don't like the idea of stuff being injected into your machine, or you didn't see the benefits of doing 1.0 before OTG became available. So OTG is available, and there is a whole ton of other stuff in here as well. So here we go, let's have a look at the different things that are in here. First of all, the bootloader uses the following flags. As you can see, there is a telnet hack in there and a whole bunch of other stuff. There's no point in me going into any of that. You just want to see the features. Backups are automatically created, blah blah blah. USB OTG support. This version of Bleemsync payload supports use of a custom kernel that enables USB OTG. This supports the use of an USB OTG adapter in the rear USB port. So that's the power port, the micro USB port in the back of the PlayStation. This will bypass the power limitation of the front ports to allow the use of nearly all storage or controller devices. Nearly all! That's the beautiful thing here. The kernel is installed separately, please see below. Okay, so kernel install. This version of Bleemsync payload supports installation of an updated Linux kernel. Please be aware that this can be a harmful change that can brick your device. While the team has done everything possible to ensure that this can be done safely, please follow the proper guidelines for flashing a payload. It's less risky than it sounds, but these guys have to cover their backs. The Bleemsync guys have to cover their backs. That's why this note is in there. So always be careful with anything like this. I'll put that point out there right now. Updated xpad.ko. This driver has updated the latest mainline Linux source for increased compatibility with controllers. We like that. More controllers and more compatibility. New option for adding games to Bleemsync UI. This is another thing everyone's been crying out for. A lot of people didn't like the user interface via the web browser for adding games. It wasn't ideal for a lot of people, and I think it kind of put a dampener on that 1.0 release. That's why a lot of people also stayed on 0.4 or 0.7. So PlayStation games can now be added to the BS UI by dropping them into media/transfer. So there's a folder created as part of this called transfer, and you just literally, you dump the games in there and it creates them all into the right folders and everything for you. Multi-disc games are supported. Naming format should be game name disc 1, disc 2. Multi-track games are supported so long as the name format conforms to the same. Custom cover images can also be added to the transfer folder. The image must have the same file name as the game. So it will do the cover art for the games automatically, and it's just stock. It's, you know, the standard cover of the game. If you want to do custom ones, then it's very easy. You just put the PNG file in the folder, kind of like we used to with 0.4, and then it will use that picture, that custom cover image. Format supported: bin, Q, ISO, IMG, PBP. We like that. That's very good. Bleemsync settings menu. Bleemsync settings can now be changed directly on the console. To open the settings menu, press L1 while on the boot menu screen. So this is a massive change. This is kind of massively different to 1.0, where you had to change those settings within the Bleemsync user interface on your web browser. Now you can do it on the console itself. So you can click L1, which I'll show you later, and you can change those settings. This is very similar to another product that's out there, but it's done slightly differently, and it works brilliantly. So this is a great addition to the release. RetroArch playlist generation. Setting the generate external game playlist variable in Bleemsync settings will enable automatic playlist generation. Yes, we like this. So when you're adding all those other ROMs, you just literally enable this within the settings and it will generate the playlist for you. RetroArch update. The version of RetroArch included has been updated. Good stuff. It's gotten rid of a few issues. Custom applications launcher for stock UI. The ability to create custom application launchers for stock UI has been added. By default, there are 2 launchers included with Bleemsync, a RetroArch launcher and a boot menu launcher. This is great. This means you can go into the stock UI and have an actual icon for RetroArch. So rather than having the splash page that has Bleemsync and RetroArch, you can actually have it on your stock UI page. This is a nice addition, really nice, and I think a few people have kind of shouted about this previously, that they didn't want to have to use that splash screen, but now you don't have to. You can go directly into the stock UI and you can see RetroArch there and you can launch it. Third-party controller support for stock UI. The stock UI and emulator can now be used with third-party controllers. Third-party controllers are used to emulate the stock controller input. As such, the left analog stick is mapped to the D-pad, so you can use stock controllers in the stock UI. Third-party controllers, sorry, in the stock UI. Fantastic news. There is loads of really good stuff in here. And now I just want to get straight into it, guys. So the point of this video is to update from 0.4 to 1.1. I will do 2 more videos, as I said before, 1.0 to 1.1, and also installing from fresh. So if you've never done this before, I'm going to show you how to install Bleemsync 1.1 fresh in a separate video. So I will post all the links to those in the description below. I will also put cards in above that will appear during the video. If you've come to the wrong video, then just click one of those and you'll get to the right one. So that is it. Right, let's crack on with it. So at the moment, I'm presuming that you've got a 0.4 version of Bleemsync on your PlayStation Classic. I've got one here for you to see, and I literally have 2 games on it. This is how you know it's 0.4, because I can't go back. I can't do anything but have those games on the menu. It's very, very basic. For those of you that just wanted to add your own games, this is 0.4. So I'm going to pull the USB out from my PlayStation. I'm going to turn that off first, and I'm going to pull the USB out. And then we're going to go back to our desktop right here. And we're going to plug in this USB. So this should launch. So there we go. That's my 0.4 USB stick in my PC now. And as you can see, it's still got lolhack. It's still in here. We've still got the Bleemsync application. It's the old school way of doing it, but for a bunch of you, this will be the standard way of doing it, and you just want to get to 1.1. So as we can see from the instructions on the website right here, if we want to update from 0.4, I'm just going to scroll down to it right here. Upgrading from Bleemsync 0.x. Here we go. Open your USB drive using the File Explorer and delete the following folders if they exist. So you got that, you got that, you got that. Okay, it's important to only delete these files. If you delete any other Bleemsync files, then the migration is less likely to be successful. So make sure you follow these instructions to the letter. That's very important. Okay, so let's just grab that, and lolhack, and we're going to delete those. And hit enter. Now we've deleted those. All we need to do is download 1.1, which I have right here, as you can see. There it is there. Extract the folders from the zip to your USB. Okay, so let's do this. Let's pull this over here. I'm going to get that there. And I'm going to open up my USB here. Okay, let's shrink this down. It's all a bit big. Right, okay, as you can see, we've got Bleemsync and we got this folder. So we literally just copy those across to our USB. Don't forget, at this point, your USB is set to FAT32 and it is set with the name Sony. Hopefully you've ticked all those boxes already if you were on 0.4. So we're going to copy those across and then we can move on. So there we go, the files are copied across to the USB. Now the next step in the list, as you can see here, connect your USB drive to the console as you normally would and power on the console. Let me just shrink this down so we can see the whole thing. It is recommended that while updating you do not have any other USB devices connected to your console. Okay, so let's take the USB out of our PC and we're going to plug it into the console in the second port as usual. Okay, chuck that in there. Power was out when I did that, as always, guys. If you've watched any of these tutorials before, you should know to take the power out before you put that USB in. Okay, power in. Let's wait for that to turn on. We've got power. Okay. Power it on. Let's go over to the PlayStation and see what happens. As per the instructions, it says the system will create a backup of your existing kernel, recovery and data partitions. This may take up to 5 minutes. Right, I want you to see the color here. Creating file system backup, it will take a couple minutes. Okay, so up to 5 minutes, guys. So please be wary of that and do not unplug it during this process, no matter what happens. Okay, here we go. I just went away from my desk while that happened. And there we go, the initial hack is now complete. The console will restart in 5 seconds. So what happens at that stage is the light goes out completely on the PlayStation Classic and then it goes back to being on again. So let's go back to my PC and look at the instructions just to make sure that we're doing the right thing here. So as you can see, after the backup is completed, the payload installed on your console will be updated. When the payload has finished updating, you should see this screen. So we did see that, didn't we? The initial hack is complete. The console will restart in 5 seconds. Once the console is powered off and you see an orange LED, hopefully we got that. Yes, we have. I do struggle between orange and green because of my color blindness, but there we go. Create a backup of your console's backup files. Copy them somewhere safe. All right, so we've got to take the USB out of the PlayStation Classic and put it back into our PC. So now that the USB is opened up on your PC, you will see in the Bleemsync folder a backup folder. There is a few files in here and these are very, very important, as you will see in the instructions. So let's just copy that and paste it onto wherever is safe. I'm just going to chuck it on my desktop for now, but I'll probably file it away later. So once that's backed up, we can move on. So let's have a look here. Create a backup of your console's backup files, copy them somewhere safe, as we've done. The backup files are stored, blah, blah, blah. It's important you keep a copy of these files somewhere safe. They are unique and can only be used on the console that created them. Do not delete these files from the USB drive. Guys, very, very important. Do not delete those files as per the instructions. Moving on, if your USB drive is formatted NTFS exFAT, please stop here and see flashing kernel. It's not. It's FAT32 at this point. Download the custom kernel lboot.epb and save it to USB Bleemsync update. Okay, so I have downloaded this already, as you can see here on my desktop. So let's go to the update folder. Let's copy that into there. This is all on the USB stick still, guys. And what it wants you to do now is put it back into your PlayStation Classic. This is a bit of a faff, I do understand, guys, but this is needed in order to make this work. Okay. So, as always, power off, plug it in to the second USB port on the front, power it on. Let's try and get this up and running. The light should pop on, there we go. Press the power button, and let's move over onto our PlayStation Classic. Here we go. That is extremely loud. I love it though. Alright, so this is the Bleemsync screen. Stuff should happen now. Here we go. Updating kernel in 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, so that's the kernel updating. The light went off on the PlayStation Classic, and then it should come back on and flash lots. There you go. So the console will count down from 5. During the upgrade, the console will turn off, like we saw. LED completely off, turn back on, and then turn off once more. When the LED has returned to orange, the upgrade is now complete. So for now, it's just sitting on green. Okay, so it's not flashing. It did the flashing before, and it says once it stops, you can then power it off again, like that, and power it on again. Turn the console back on and it now boot to the Bleemsync boot menu. Let's see if it does. Fingers crossed. All right, we are into the splash screen, and as you can hear, the music is playing. We are on Bleemsync 1.1, and the way I know straight off the bat is the L1 settings at the top of the screen there. So let's press L1, and as you can see here, look at this, Bleemsync settings available from the PlayStation itself. So let's go through them very quickly. Boot disable health, that's the health warning if you want to get rid of that. Boot menu music, true. We can actually turn that off if we want, it's completely up to you. Quick boot, we'll have that. Boot splash, that's the splash screen that comes up on booting. Boot target stock BM, boot target stock RA, boot target stock UI. So BM is the Bleemsync menu, so the choice of RetroArch or Bleemsync. Stock RA is if you want it to go directly to RetroArch, and stock UI is if you want it to go directly to stock UI. Now you might want to turn the stock UI option on, because now you can launch RetroArch from the stock UI. That's another reason that 1.1 kind of ups the game a bit and makes it better. So we've got a whole load of other stuff. Generate external game playlist, generate internal game playlist, launch RetroArch from stock UI. Make sure you turn this to true so you can see RetroArch on your stock user interface, the carousel. Link eMMC and USB. This lets you see the 20 original games that are built into the PlayStation Classic. So I'm having this on. Override theme music. I'm going to leave the rest of this as it is. Selected theme, stock or mod my classic. Obviously you can upload more themes as we go along. So let's save that. Are you sure you want to overwrite the old settings? Console will shut down after saving. Yes. So we're going to allow that to shut down. The light goes off completely. And then once that comes back on to orange, I can turn the PlayStation Classic on, and hopefully we will see the difference in speed of boot. Fingers crossed. Let's see. There's the amazing PlayStation. See, it cuts it off. I'm not too sure whether the quick boot is worthwhile. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below, whether you think that's a good addition or bad. It seems to take a bit longer off the bat to load up, if I'm being completely honest. Look at this. So I think that's because I've just changed the settings. It shouldn't take that long normally, so we'll try again in a minute just to see how long it takes. Okay, so let's go into Bleemsync and we're going to see what's new, how different it looks. Okay, so last time we looked at this, remember we just had two icons. We had Crash Bandicoot and CTR. There you go, there's Crash Bandicoot and CTR. All the original stock 20 games are in here now, and also you can go back to the boot menu from the carousel, which is amazing. And then the final thing here, RetroArch from the carousel. So if we click on that, let's see it open up RetroArch, and we should be able to get straight into that as well. Here we go, look at this, fantastic. Okay, so we asked for it to make the playlist, as you can see there, look at that, external and internal, which is amazing, amazing. So we are all good to go. Look at this. This is 1.76. There is an update to 1.77, which I think will be included in the final release. Let's see, guys. Right, so let's exit this. There's a ton of stuff in here. Main menu, that's what we want. Quit RetroArch. Let's see where it takes us back to. It should take us back to the carousel. Yes, it does. Okay, so boot menu. Let's click on that and let's make sure that that works. There you go. We're straight back here. And we can go back into the settings. We can do everything we want to do. So that's it. That is the goodness that comes with this release. The other thing now is the OTG support. OTG, guys. I have bought myself an OTG adapter, and as you can see, it's one of the sort of octopus type ones with multiple ports, multiple connections. So micro USB here, and then a bunch of normal USBs there, and then another micro USB there. Now the reason for this, let's go back to my PC and turn off the PlayStation Classic. I'm going to go back to the PC, and I also have, look at this, a USB 3 stick, which is, it's only a 32 gig stick, but you could use much bigger. I've cheaped out a little bit with a 32 gig. This is a SanDisk USB 3.0. You're not going to be able to see it on there, but it's teeny tiny, which is what I like here for this kind of console. So using this OTG adapter, I'm going to be able to use this USB 3 stick, but I've got to get the USB 3 stick ready first. I have to put it in a format that makes sense. I have to dump all the files from the other USB stick onto this one. And hopefully moving forward, you will only have to use your USB 3 stick in the adapter using that OTG method, which is much, much better. Okay, so let's plug this into the PC. This is my USB 3 stick. And make sure to use your USB 3 port because it will be much quicker to chuck files in there. Okay, so here's my USB 3 USB stick, right? It's not the one we were using in the PlayStation previously. I've still got that in my PlayStation, okay? So this is the 1.1 install on this stick. So we need to take that out as well. And we need to put it into our PC so that we can have them side by side. Let's do this. So there we go. USB 3 on the right of the screen, USB 2 on the left of the screen. The USB 2, I just pointed the wrong way. USB 3 on this side of the screen and USB 2 on this side of the screen. So the reason I've done it this way is just to make it a bit easier for me to be able to know which one I'm formatting and which one I'm putting the files on. So here we go. Look, you can see this is the 1.1 Bleemsync files right here. And all we have to do is get this USB 3 drive ready to put all these files on. So let's find it here. It's just called USB at the moment. So we right click and we format and we're going to call it Sony. And we're going to use exFAT. exFAT is the much better file system for this usage from now on, especially for these USB 3 drives. So let's click start and OK. Obviously it had nothing on it already, but it has made it ready and it's called it the right name. So all we have to do now is copy these files across to the USB 3. So from the USB 2 to the USB 3. Okay, so that's all the files copied across. So it's at this stage before you transfer any games that I would suggest you put all the cover art onto your USB. This means that the transfer tool that is built into this version of Bleemsync will work properly. Drop on over to the link that I will put in the description below that brings you all the cover art for the PlayStation Classic. All you have to do is right click and download on the one you want. I am going for the regional case thumbnails. Download that onto your machine, and then once that zip file is downloaded, just open it up and you'll see a covers folder. If you go into Bleemsync on your USB drive and then go opt and then go PSC transfer tools, you'll see the folder there, covers. Now all you have to do at this stage is click and drag it onto your USB drive and it will overwrite anything that's in there already, and it will put all those covers onto your USB drive. Once that finishes, you will open up the covers folder and you will see an absolute ton of PNG files. Look at this, there's tons of them. So that's all the cover art for all those games. So when you put them into the transfer folder, it will link the two together. Okay, so now we've done that, let's go back to the root of the drive and we go to the transfer folder and let's find ourselves a game to transfer. So the first game I want to put on there is Spider-Man, so all I have to do is copy the Q and bin file into the transfer folder. Now because I'm going from my PC straight to USB 3, it's super quick, which is what we like. Let's also transfer in Metal Slug, and I'm going to transfer in Castlevania. Okay, so that's 3 games. Actually Castlevania is a pretty big one, it's like 700 meg. So let's see how quickly it goes across. You saw Spider-Man and Metal Slug went in super rapid, and this one is pretty quick too. So now that the games are all in the transfer folder, we literally just have to unplug the USB 3, plug it into the OTG adapter as before, and turn on the PlayStation. So let's get that up and running there. Okay, so nothing new here, same again, but the transfer folder had our games in. So on this term round, it will just chuck those into the carousel exactly as we want. So let's just wait for this to load up. Go to Bleemsync on there, and fingers crossed it's all worked. Yes, it has. Look at that. First up, Castlevania. It has the regional covers. You'll notice that my games that I had previously in there compared to these ones now have different covers. So if you want to go back around and retrospectively change those, you literally just go into the folders for those games, so 1 and 2, and just change the covers in there. So let's see the other games. Metal Slug X, beautiful. And Spider-Man, there you go. So that's all the games I added on. So let's just launch one of those and make sure it plays alright, and fingers crossed everything is as it should be. Here is the PlayStation 1 version of Castlevania, an absolutely beautiful game, and it's running perfectly. Okay, so at this stage we can hit the reset button And we should be able to go back to, yes, there you go. And you got your resume point. So brilliant. I think we're all done. So we've gone from 0.x, 0.4 or 0.7, up to you, all the way up to 1.1 of Bleemsync. Wow, that was a bit of a journey, that video. I'm going to try and make the 1.0 to 1.1 a little bit easier, and also the straight install of 1.1 a little bit cleaner. Thank you so much for everyone who's watched this all the way through. Hopefully it's going to bring a whole new dimension to your Bleemsync experience, and please let me know how you get on in the comments below. As always, all the links are in the description. Please make sure to subscribe to our channel and like the video if it's been useful, and drop on over to our social media avenues: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We've also got a website, thegameshed.com. Everything is in the description, so go and follow us, because we'll be doing teasers and all sorts for all the future versions of Bleemsync and Auto Bleem and everything else in there. Thank you so much, guys, for coming along. Much appreciated. I will see you next time.